Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I was quite rushed, but I have arrived. So apologies for the late one. It's me this time. It's my fault.
It's usually me mucking about, isn't it?
Did I say that?
Change is as good as a rest. That's what they say.
Yes.
Oh my goodness me. So,
And I
are you
watched last
well?
week. I watched last week's. It was lovely.
Wasn't
Lovely,
it brilliant?
lovely to see hands and fascinating to listen to. I'm like, gosh, that lady
Yeah,
knows so much stuff. It's like,
yeah,
wow.
absolutely.
Impressed.
Yeah, I know. Stuff, and more stuff. In fact, I've just spent the last couple of days with her, and we've had a blast, an absolute blast. I'll tell you about that in a bit. So,
Yeah.
I'm dying to hear all about your. Oh, we've got a couple of people in. Come and say hello.
Oh, come say hi. You don't bite.
Yeah, I am absolutely dying to hear all about your week.
Well,
Weeks.
it's been eventful. Like I say, we did go away, and hence why I wasn't here last week. Oh, have we frozen? Am I still
Yep,
here?
there you are. We're
Sorry, I
back.
thought I'd frozen there. I'm here. I'm back. And so camping, which was going to be 2 nights, ended up being 1 night. Hello, Redwing.
Oh,
It was a
hi,
1 night
Redwing.
camping because heavy rain was forecast, and I thought even I'm not going to be able to hold that off. So Nigel kind of bottled it and we came home.
Oh,
And it did piss it down. It did piss it down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
but
Sometimes you've
yeah,
just got to admit defeat, haven't you?
exactly. But it was very nice to be sat out under the stars, and it was a clear night, which we haven't had in so long. And you could
No.
see the Milky Way. You could see I saw shooting
Wow.
stars. Um,
Wow.
it was, and we had the fire because we had this little fire where you lift it. It's not on the ground, so you
Yeah.
can have an open fire, which worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
And that was magical, truly magical.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah. Was it very far away from where you live?
Not particularly. It's only down towards Hastings, so it was
Oh,
less
that's right. You
than
went
an
to
hour
Battle,
away.
didn't you? That's right. It was
Hmm.
Battle. I remember.
Well, it was near
Yeah.
back. It was less than an hour away, but basically it was the middle of nowhere, as it were.
Yeah. 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 Wonderful. Oh, it sounds lovely.
It was
Really
lovely.
lovely. Yeah. Hi, Chris. Evening. I hope you're well today. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So you were well and truly beaten by the rain. Did you actually get into Battle itself?
No, we didn't. What we did was we went down to Hastings
Hmm.
and had a real good mooch because it was nice to see the sea and had some fish and
Yeah.
chips, as you do, because it'd be
Wow.
rude not to. And it
Absolutely.
was very nice. We were very fortunate because it could have been a lot worse weather-wise, but of course I wasn't going to chance my arm. I thought, no.
Yeah.
I thought I knew it was going to get better this week, and hopefully
Yeah.
it'll stay that way because it's lovely at
Yeah.
the moment.
It is. It's been wonderful, actually. The last couple of days have been gorgeous, haven't they?
Oh,
They
wow.
really
Yeah.
have.
Felt like
Yeah.
summer again.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so. So I've had a most magical couple of days, actually.
Mm.
And it's been amazing. And yesterday we went for, it's all been around here, of course, which is pretty magical anyway around this area, isn't it? It's just lovely. And we went for a walk yesterday, and we went down to my Billy Goat's Bridge and played
Oh,
pool
yeah.
sticks like you do. Uh,
Indeed.
which was good fun. And then we kind of like skirted round the edge of my cornfield,
Mhm.
and ended up going into the little woodland bit there.
Mm.
And of course, we've got like the cornfield at the back, and then we've got the river at the front, and we're in the woodland. And we heard this noise, looked up, and it was a deer.
Wow.
Well, muntjac. And it stood looking at us, and we stood looking at it for 5 minutes.
Oh,
And it was just sort of semi obscured by some of the trees, but it was looking at us and we were looking at it, and it was very much kind of like, well, if I go that way they'll see me more, and if I go that way they'll see me more.
just
So yeah, so it just stayed still, and we stayed still, and then we heard a bit more rustling, and it was joined by her baby, and the baby was there for a little bit. Anyway, they eventually, after a few more minutes, they decided to slope off, which they did, and we're like, okay. But it was just so lovely, and we sort of sat down on a fallen log for a little while and had a chat. It's like, it feels right to do some. It's just so lovely in there. It's like it feels right to do some magic. So we did some spontaneous magic for the fires and the floods. Obviously, the fires
yes.
in Greece and Turkey and stuff, and the floods in the rest of Europe. So we did some stuff, and we tried to create some balance to do that. So not only did we do circle work, we sort of incorporated the whole yin and yang into that circle to try and create the balance. And we only used 2 elements. Actually, we only used water and fire for those 2, because we didn't want the others kind of coming in, and we just wanted to concentrate on just those 2 for the balance part. And it was lovely. And then after we'd finished, and we just stood quietly for a bit, and then when you get that feeling of being watched.
Indeed.
Turned around, deer. It's like, how long has that been there?
Probably enjoying the magic.
And yeah, it was like, oh wow. So yeah, and then we skirted around the rest, and we left there eventually, and then we skirted around the rest of the cornfield, and then all these deer were just in where the corn, obviously having a good old munch. Oops. And then they just all sort of like went through. So yeah, it was just lovely. It really, really was. And then today we went into the cornfield so that we could drum to the corn like I was doing last year. Cows have moved, sadly, so we couldn't drum to the cows, but we drummed to the corn, and the deer joined us. Wow. That was just lovely. It really was just. It really, really was. It was wonderful. Absolutely lovely. So, yeah, and we went out and sort of looked at the stars and stuff last night. We've got very dark skies here, and
yes, it's quite dark.
Yeah. No, it was just lovely. So lovely. It really, really was. So, yeah, just wonderful actually. Because the weather's been lovely and stuff. So I do have a rather sore face because the corn is about 8 feet. And of course, we're like trundling through this field, and it's like, it's like being burst, actually. Yeah, my face. And so, yeah, it's a bit sore. With all that, it's like almost like hundreds of paper cuts, from all the leaves while we were walking through. Because it's very densely sown. But it was a bit like being birthed, and it had this amazing sound. It almost sounded like crashing waves as you were walking through, the noise of the leaves moving. But it was almost like being birthed. It was like, and out it came.
Popped out.
Right, yeah, we're out. I found this sort of grove in the middle. It's got 3 oak trees. The magic of 3. And so we just stayed there for a while, just being quiet, and it was just lovely. And of course it was sunny and breezy, and yeah, it was lovely. But I do have a sore face.
What a lovely day. Lainey's in. Really she said she'd love to see a deer. Lainey is also our resident brilliant photographer. So she'd like to see a deer because she likes to photograph. She's done the most incredible pictures of nature. It's quite magical, isn't it, Lainey?
Yeah. So I have to say, it's just been, I've been blown away. And sometimes also we've been treated to, when the birds, and you get a flock of birds, and they make those kind of like 3D shapes. It's probably got a name, and I don't know.
Murmuration.
Pardon?
Murmuration.
Did you say?
Murmuration.
Oh, not buggeration.
That's a completely different thing. I'm sure.
Sorry. Anyway, that's what they were doing. So we were watching them with morning coffee. Totally civilized, sitting in the garden, and we've got all the birds literally just in front of us doing all that murmuration. So they were doing that. We've seen kites and kestrels circling. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Wow. So yeah,
it's definitely been a wildlifey kind of a week, because just this evening my sister and I were down at the stream, standing there just watching the world go by. And first of all, we saw a kingfisher shoot the whole length of the and tweeting as it went. It's got a very unique sound. They don't tweet exactly, they make a very strange sound. Beautiful, blue, orange, fabulous. Because I was worried they'd been frightened off by all the work that had been done, around our area. So they haven't, which is a joy, because they're beautiful.
That's a relief.
And I saw a snake swimming.
Did you?
I did. I have never seen it before. And I did a little research, and apparently it's a grass snake, and it was over a foot long. It was just swimming along, as they do, doing the snake version of breaststroke with its little head in the air. And it just kind of sauntered along by the bank, and then I looked it up, because I'm like, snake that swims, what the hell is that? And of course it's a grass snake, because apparently they're equally at home in the water Pardon me,
I
as
didn't know
unknown.
that.
So that was an eye
I
opener.
didn't know that, actually. Didn't know that
I didn't
at
have a
all.
camera with me though, unfortunately, Lainey, so I didn't get a picture.
Oh, shame.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah,
How amazing.
that's it, Chris. Yeah, grass snake. I
Wow.
was astounded
Yeah,
because I'd never seen that before. I thought I've seen most things. I'm kind of like,
yeah.
wow. So nature was
Wow.
really speaking to me today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. I love kingfishers. It's the colour of them. They're just amazing, aren't they?
they're iridescent and beautiful. But
Yeah.
actually, a lot of what this week has been about healing work, and I've been refining how I work because I tend to work.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, because I found out my uncle's not very well. He has cancer. He's been diagnosed. Now it
Oh, I'm
may be
sorry
a form that can be
about
dealt with, and I've got a feeling it's going to be all right. But I was doing some work last night because I only found that out yesterday, and I saw him
that.
today as well. So I was doing some work kind of in my head, and I was trying to refine and work out what it is that I do because I don't think about it normally.
Yeah.
But because we talk about it on here, I'm thinking, what is it that I do? I
Yeah.
thought, okay, what I do is I think of the person,
Mm.
I focus on them, I know where the problem is, and then I focus on them ever such a lot and think good, obviously you're trying to think nice thoughts, but you're bearing in mind the information you have. And then
Yeah.
what happens is I get energy that comes up through my feet, energy that comes down through my head, and I
Yeah.
end up having something in the palm of my hand.
Right.
Energy, not, but
Yeah.
it's there. And that's obviously the energy that they need or that they can
Yeah.
use. And I can feel it there, like a really solid thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing all this in my eyes shut while I'm in bed, because that's my working time. My
Yeah. Yeah.
husband's asleep. I've got a window of opportunity. And then
Yeah.
what happens is when I think it's ready, then I release that energy off to the person. I just kind of drop my hand and let it go. And then I imagine it
Yeah.
going like a shooting star to the person
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah. So is it a specific energy for, in this instance, to heal, a certain variety of illness, or is it sort of an energy for that person to take and use as they see fit? What do you do with that?
I think, I mean, I don't, whatever I get is the right thing for that person. So it's up to them what they do with it. I'm not trying to fix them because that's,
Yeah.
And he's not, particularly receptive to this sort of thing. So I'm literally just sending a little packet of goodness that can be used. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you the colour of it and what it feels like, because each time I do something like this, it is different. That's
Yes.
what I realise, is that
Yeah.
it's very much an individual thing, and I don't know what that energy is for or how it will
Yeah.
be used, but I kind of
Yeah.
that seems to be what they need.
Oh, right.
So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, now I know what I do. And when I'd done that for him, I also did some for another friend of mine, and actually got a different, because it was a bit like an experiment. I got a very different feel of what the energy was, but did the
Yeah.
same process. So I was like, and I
Yeah.
thought, and then I went to sleep like that.
Knockout drops.
Yeah, it was like, work is done, time to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I hadn't really.
Yeah.
I tend not to analyse what I do, because part of that can be a problem. What I do is not
Yeah.
to be analysed, but it's useful to try and explain to yourself what it is you think you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Break it down into steps almost, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is
Yeah.
literally a visualization, a sensation, a energy, and then ascending.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting, because actually, if I'm doing healing stuff, I do it entirely differently to that.
Of course. I think
Entirely differently.
everybody
Yeah.
would do it slightly differently, because everyone's
Yeah.
different, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. But mine's absolutely entirely differently. And obviously, if it's in the situation where somebody hasn't asked for it and hasn't requested it and maybe might not be terribly receptive to it, then obviously that's going to be entirely different again for somebody that said, I'm really not very well, can you help? And obviously that's very
That will be very much different thing, very much more.
Yeah, exactly. In which case, if it's if it's somebody that hasn't asked and so on, you're kind of like doing it off your own back, then yeah, it's more of an energy thing and sort of sending it over. But I actually imagine them receiving it, rather than imagine and focus on visualizing me sending it. I actually focus more on them receiving it from me. So it's more drawing than sending.
Oh, I
So
see.
do you see what I mean? So they're drawing it from
I
me.
think it
rather
sort of
than me
works both
sending
ways
it.
anyway, doesn't it? It does
Oh,
kind of work both
yeah.
ways.
I mean, clearly it does because I've helped people, but
And
yeah.
the
So it's
thing,
more of a drawing thing rather than a sending thing. But then if somebody, as you say, it's different again. If somebody said to me specifically, "Can you help?"
yes,
And actually, then it's different again because you kind of may focus on what that thing is and actually visualize them improving and being better and less ill, or whatever affliction it might be, reducing
absolutely,
in
yeah.
size and so on and so forth. So,
That's what I
yeah,
was doing too. Yes, I was,
yeah,
because he's a relative, and I know kind of his backstory and the whole thing, and I know that I focus an awful lot on him not being frightened,
mm,
and on calm feelings, and also on about the specifics of it being
yeah,
gone. So
yeah,
yeah, that was all
yeah,
sort of it was all kind of bound up with it, really.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't have done it for someone who wasn't my family, who I
yeah, yeah.
wasn't,
That's
and I
it.
knew I was seeing him, and I knew I had
Mm,
to see him today because it kind of cemented it. The fact that I saw him,
yeah,
I didn't have to
yeah,
say anything. I just think I needed to see him to kind of seal the deal almost.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a similar situation in that I had to send help to a family member over the weekend, actually, um, for somebody that's suffering from mental issues in my family. But actually, that was less of a healing thing and more of a because I thought, it, obviously with a physical illness, you've got a, whether it's a bug or a mutant gene or whatever it might be, you've got something specific to try and eliminate, haven't you?
Yeah, it's
But of course, when
totally
it's
different.
it's very different thing. So with my relative, it was very much that this person needs to have assistance opening communication channels to try and deal with the issues that are happening, and
Mm.
it was great actually. And I got a couple of other people to help out with that too. And it was sort of, again, different people have different things. So one person was like, we'll try, sort of focusing on blue lace agate because obviously that's great with communication and so
Yes.
on. But as we know, I'm not particularly a sort of a crystal sort of person. Although it's not to say I don't use them
It's
because I
not your
do,
instinctual area.
but it's not my it certainly isn't my expertise. That's for certain. And so on. But for them, that was the thing. But as I say again, but it was all different angles of opening up levels of communication, not just from my relative outwards, but for also people to be able to listen to what they had to say, and interpret what they were saying appropriately in order to be able to help. So it's yeah, that was quite full on, and that's it's a very very different thing. It really is. But
Yeah, it is so
yeah,
dependent on what the person needs and asks for and wants, but
mm,
it is rare that I try and actually remember, or even sometimes what I've done is literally a non-spur of the moment thing. So, but it's
yeah,
interesting to try and
yeah,
step back from it a little bit and think, okay, what is my rationale? What is it I think I'm doing? I hope I'm
yeah.
doing. Yeah.
The memory thing actually is interesting. That came up in conversation today. And in the same way that if someone says to me, if I've read somebody's cards, for example, they're like, "Do you remember the other day you pulled out such and such and you said?" I'm like,
Nope.
"Nope,
Right.
no idea," because it's done, it's dusted, it's nothing. Technically, it's nothing to do with me if I'm reading
Mm.
somebody else's cards. And so that interpretation of it is not my, it's almost like not my responsibility. And I don't mean that in a funny way, but it's kind of, my brain says, I don't need to know this. I don't need to remember it. And it's almost rude and personal to me to, and it's intrusive to try and remember what I've said to somebody. Do you see what I
I
mean?
do. When I was a hypnotherapist and I
Yeah,
worked with people, there was a lot of things that I would say, and it was literally because it came
yeah,
from the subconscious. It was almost a magical working. I mean, I'm pretty sure actually an
yeah.
awful lot of what I did was. And then they come back and say, "Oh, you remember you said so and so?" And I'm like, did I?
No,
Because it was just what was needed at the time. I had
yeah,
no wish to carry all of that information around in my head.
yeah,
Once it was out
yeah.
there and gone to them,
It's
it
out
was
and it's
theirs.
gone. It's
Yeah,
theirs. It's their responsibility to keep keep lose track of, or whatever, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel actually there's a lot of magical stuff that's that, and of course that's where journaling comes in, isn't it? Whether you call it journaling, whether you call it Book of Shadows, Grimoire, whatever you choose to call it. And of course there's that. But for me, although I do have Books of Shadows, one of those things that I tend not to do is write down and say, oh, I did X, Y, and Z, because what I won't do is then revisit that and think, you know, because it's not a one size fits all thing. Might come across a very similar situation, but, you know, a year might have gone by, might be for a different person, might be, you know, there's so many different variants that which I did 6 months ago, 2 years ago, wouldn't actually be relevant. And so I would consciously make something new and specific for that purpose, rather
But you're
than
working instinctually. That's the thing, is you are working in contact with the subconscious and stuff beyond. You aren't trying to produce a recipe, for example.
Exactly.
Unless you're making a potion,
Because
maybe you do
each
that.
individual will be very different, have different complex needs. Even if they wanted the same thing and the same outcome, they themselves would have different responses to certain herbs, for example, or you know, whatever you might happen to have. You know, they might be an earth sign and the person previously might be a water sign, or, you know, there's so many different variants that I don't do the one size fits all. And for that reason, I think it's, you know, one of my reasons for lack of writing down what I do, because again, you know, it's done. I don't need that anymore. It's gone. And so again, I forget, what did I do? I think, oh, I sort of did that. I don't actually remember. I might have added that in it, or I probably did add so and so because. But you know, it's all different elements that were specific and relevant at the time, rather than
and it was pure connection with the situation, the energy of the person. So it didn't need writing down. I did a lot of that. Well, I didn't. People are like, oh, you ought to journal, you ought to know. It's like, I'm not trying to write a textbook here. I'm working purely on. Half the time, I don't know how I got there or where it came from or anything. I mean, as Kristen said there, do you think it's a sort of a self-defense not to remember? It's like, I don't think so. I think it's just your brain gets crowded, and you don't need to know. Once you've done your part, you then release it and let it go and do its thing, and you're not part of it anymore.
It's done. It's the universe has got it. The ether's got it, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, you know, I've done my bit. Now it's your turn.
Well, you've got, and then you have to let go of the response. That's the thing. You're not. If there's a need to know everything, I think that can sometimes get in the way, because that's a conscious thing. And conscious mind in magic gets in the way.
You know, isn't it difficult to describe what an instinctive thing is?
It is.
Absolutely. But it's almost, it's just deep knowing. It's like, I know that I need to do that, say this, add such and such, work this way, walk that way, whatever, and do it at this time or whatever day, and so on, if you've got choices like that. But it really is. And it's just this deep knowing without being told. That's the best way that I can describe it for me.
It's a connection to something that is far more, it's more of a connecting thing. I'm somehow hooking into something that has an effect. And I've much more, I would say, over the last few years, I've much more now just trust me, and I'm not worried about what a book says, or you know, it is, I have absolutely gone back to complete instinctual basics, and that is so much more effective for me. May not be for the next person, but I have to work that way. Otherwise I feel stultified. I feel, you know, imprisoned in it. You can only do this.
It's very inhibiting, I think. Definitely.
Exactly. Which is probably why I'm much more sort of hedge witchy and just hermetic witchy than I ever was when I was running a coven and stuff. Because although I loved that, the thought of trying to train people to do what I do is almost impossible, because how can I teach? I can teach people certain things. As you know, there are things that I can impart to people and help them. But in terms of actually structure, you know, having a training coven, it's too much pressure. I don't want to do that.
You know, you've got that whole thing. You can make suggestions and you can explain the reasons why you might do X, Y, and Z. But like you say, if it's intuition, it's like, you know, how do you know that? Well, you know, I know that because I have this deep knowledge inside that's come from inside, and that's it.
I mean, that's what I did as a hypnotherapist.
But again,
what I do now.
questions. Why don't you could do this or you could do that. But again, it's guidance, isn't it, at the end of the day? And you can sort of say, you know what, I would probably go down this avenue or possibly that route. But then, there's a myriad of other ways that you can tackle a problem, as there is in any situation, really, whether it's computing or, getting
exactly
some
what I'd rather do with somebody. What I'd rather do with somebody is show them how to get in contact with that part of their unconscious, so they can. That's what I can do. That's what my life as a hypnotherapist was about: was getting people in touch with who they really are, not who they think they're supposed to be. It's self-knowledge, and then that enables you to access a state where you can access this stuff. But that's hard to teach people. But that is actually probably what's needed more than tones on this is how you do this, this is how you do this, this is how you do that.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got a few comments here. Well, here, I know I've got my glasses on, I can see. Oh, we've got Susan. Hello. I don't believe we've met. Hello. Hope you're all well. Intuition is so valuable, Susan says. We just need to learn to tune into it and trust it. And I think absolutely key. Trust.
That might be my friend Susan, because I told her that we were dear friend Susie.
Hello.
Hello, and if it isn't hello to you anyway.
And tuning in, a lot of people can tune into their intuition, whether it's like, oh, I'm not sure about that person, you've never come across them before, and you kind of bump into somebody at a bar or in the supermarket, and you think, oh, stay away. Hello. Hello. But it's trusting and not going against what you know deep down. It's that animal instinct almost, isn't it? And trusting and going with it. Sometimes you sort of think it doesn't seem sensible. But yeah, very often. And you just know. And it's learning to accept that you don't have to know where that knowledge has come from.
Yeah. And I think you don't have to follow a certain school of thought, which I think is slightly tricky, even in the witchy world. There are ways of doing things, and that's absolutely fine. But when you can say, yes, I love all that, and the people that do it, but this is how I'm going to do it, and it's just as valuable, just as valid. And people find all sorts of different ways of getting into this state. Some people, there are all kinds of methods. Some people use music, some people use focused concentration, some people use meditation, some people use art. She says pointedly, to actually access it. But it's all just different ways of getting to the same place.
It is. Yeah. It's just different paths, isn't it? Different pathways and so on. And as you say, different access routes to the same core, essentially, isn't it? Yeah. Fascinating, actually. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah. I love all that stuff. I really do.
I know. It's like,
yeah, it's like a constant light bulb moment, isn't it? It's like, oh.
Very much so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where are we? Having safety of those around you to talk about witchy things. Well, yes, that is cool. Yeah.
We had a lovely lunch and a catch up and talked about lots of witchy things. So I'm saying, you're going to have to meet my friend Becky. It's like,
well, hello. Very nice to meet you, sort of.
Got to put all these people together, because it's, like I say, there isn't a right or a wrong, and I can say how I do something or how I might approach it. Absolutely. It could be the wrong thing for somebody else. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting, though, because there are some schools of thought it has to be done this way. You have to do it on the waxing moon. You have to do stuff on a Tuesday. You have to do so and so. You should never do so and so. And you're like, oh, you start putting parameters in. Oh, I'm not with you, I'm afraid.
It gets a bit
against the brain. Yeah, it goes against the brain. It all becomes a little bit corporate. I don't like
corporate. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Corporate witchcraft. No, thank you.
It's not really ours.
Yeah. And as Chris says, go with your gut. Definitely. Absolutely. And she says, found that ignoring that gut feeling tells me not to do things too safe to trust. Yeah, absolutely. You do absolutely have to listen to what you know. You're being told.
We override it, don't we? So easily. You get an intuition about something. How many times have I done this myself? Had a feeling about something, and then something else, some other bit of my brain has gotten involved and tried to rationalize it, and that's where it all goes a bit tits up, because then I'm justifying, or I'm trying to, and it's like, no, go with the first thing. It was right.
Yeah. definitely. It was
So
right
many
first
times.
time. Yeah, most definitely. Happens when you meet people occasionally, doesn't it?
Oh,
And
yes.
just something says, "Oh no, avoid, avoid, avoid." And you're like, oh, they seem really nice, and they're so and so's friend or whatever. You know, and yeah, I just think, ooh, you know, and sometimes it just is how it is, you know. But yeah, it's a funny thing, you know. Funny thing is actually we have this conversation quite a lot with the elderly lady that I go and visit,
Mm-hmm.
and she's very much one for discussing instinct all the time. Partly because she dislikes everybody on the television, or nearly everybody on the television, and nearly everybody in real life.
Yes, she does, doesn't she?
Yes, so that's a little bit tricky, but so we do have this discussion quite a bit. But you know, as she says, you know, sometimes you just get that feeling, and I can think of hasn't happened for ages actually, but I can certainly think of situations from several years ago where my husband would have come across somebody and, you know, found a new pal, brought them home for coffee or a drink or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, oh,
Mm-hmm.
no, oh, he's really nice, blah blah. Quiet word in the ear afterwards. I'm being silly. I'm this. I'm that. I just don't like everybody. Well, you can't like everybody, no, but
Mm.
inside, no,
All your alarm bells are screaming,
yeah,
aren't they?
absolutely, and
Yeah.
never been wrong,
No, no.
unfortunately. You know, and of course, then it's that whole like, you know, you don't want to say "told you so," but inside you're sort of thinking, "Oh, it
You're
could have
like,
been avoided." You know, the awful situation could have been avoided if, you know, if that instinct had been not overridden. You know, it's, you know, because as you say, rationale kicks in. It's like, oh well, you know, can't all be wrong, and you know, other people seem to think that person's all right, and
but that's the conscious thing of justifying and trying to
yeah,
make it right, rather than actually going, yeah, actually, sorry, but no.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
as I say, for me, that kind of thing is just the only way that I can describe it is knowing something without being told. I think that's the only way you can really
yeah,
explain it, isn't it? You just
yeah,
know.
because it's such a connection. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Oh,
What we got here?
Susan said there, for me, it's all energy. And when you tap into it, it's like a huge vibration of senses, still learning what it all means and how to manage it. That's part of
Yeah,
the joy of the journey, isn't it?
I know. But you know, even 20, 30 years down the line, you still don't know what it all means and how to manage it, because you're still going to get a
No.
curveball from time to time, aren't you? You never get to that, you know, to that pinnacle of like, I know it all now. Thank
No.
you very much. No,
But
that
if you're
doesn't
not
happen.
frightened of it, that's number one. And if you're
Yeah,
not overwhelmed by it, and if you accept it and know that it comes from yourself mostly, that's actually
yeah,
fine. It makes it a lot
yeah,
less
yeah.
of
That
a big
whole thing is
thing.
just accepting, isn't it? And going, it's okay. And it's also okay to be wrong,
Oh God, yes. It
isn't
has
it?
to be.
You
That's how
know,
we learn.
yeah, exactly. And as you say,
Try and put the
sometimes you do
slightest.
learn, and you sort of think, you know, and sometimes you learn quickly. Oh, I won't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't think I'll go there. It's
Oh
Frankie's
dear.
phone. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Hello, hello. Right, what else have we got here? Oh, what we got here? An exception okay to be different, Susan. Oh yes, absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. So Chris says it's nice to give everyone a chance, but when your gut instinct sets off the screaming sirens, yeah, pay attention to the bad vibes. Yeah, as I say, unfortunately, I've had a few issues. I say not for ages actually, but some of my ex-husband's choice of friends was a little iffy.
Iffy.
Oh God, what have you brought round now? Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So what else have we got here?
Frankie's
So
fines.
Frankie's finds. When I was working in the real world, co-workers would ask me to go and talk to the new person and see what I think. Oh, excellent. I love that. When I asked why, I said, you can usually tell right off if they're good or bad. Yeah. And there's some people that are far better at it than others. But is
Yeah.
it because they're prepared to listen or choose to override? That's a good question, isn't it?
Mm.
Nice one. I love that. Definitely. Yeah. And again, goes on to say, not really sure how or why it all happens, but could tell within a couple of minutes whether they're trustworthy or someone to watch. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I just, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, getting it wrong, Chris. Yeah, absolutely. Being prepared to get it wrong. And yeah, the most popular story is how not to do something. Yeah, definitely. I've got a few stories like that myself. Couldn't agree more. Oh God, yeah. But yeah. But it all adds to the spice of life, and as you say, it all adds to the learning curve, because you think, that went horribly wrong, or had absolutely no impact whatsoever, and then you can pull it apart and analyse and go, so what bit was wrong? Was it all wrong, or was there one element that could have been improved on, or whatever?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got a moth. He's after me, frock. No.
You got the Witchin moth.
Yeah. I'll have a little bit of that frock material. Thank you very much. That was quite yummy. No, back off. No.
Yes.
Back, dreaded moth. No.
Yeah.
Oh, the banana and her mothballs. She had a thing about mothballs. You could smell my banana coming a mile off, because they're really pungent, aren't they?
Why did anyone think that was ever a good thing?
I don't know. Well, I mean, they're quite effective. But not only did it scare moths off, it scared most of your relatives off too.
All human beings. Within a 12-mile radius, I believe.
She'd get off the bus and then have a 5-minute walk from the bus stop to our house. And we used to, oh, she's off the bus. Here she comes.
Yeah. Especially if you're downwind. Never do.
Yeah, they're really rather pungent. What is? Oh, it's camphor, isn't it? Mothballs.
Yes. Yeah. I always like the cedarwood ones, and they don't.
Yeah, cedarwood's far more palatable, really, isn't it? I've had various offers over the years. You know what it's like. You sort of have witchy get-togethers, and people are like, oh, I've got some of this. Would you like some of this? And would you like some? I've got so and so. Would you like some of that? Oh, yes, please. Haven't got that. And I've been in several situations where someone's like, I've got some camphor, but no. No.
That's a good thing.
I don't think I ever am going to need camphor for anything ever. I will always find an alternative. Oh dear. Yeah, runs to buy mothballs.
Yeah. That'll keep us away. Oh dear, Wibble trick Chris there. That's obviously one of her things not to do. Thought it would be a good idea to drop aromatherapy oil onto a hot charcoal disc.
Wow. Hello.
Because all they get is your chin. There you go.
Hello. We'll have to bob down. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hiya.
Looking well.
Yeah, really well. Thank you. You good?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cycled into work today, so probably sleep very well.
Good day for it. It's been beautiful. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a nice day for it. We've got a nice pink sunset.
We have. It's very lovely over there.
I had a pink sunset about 3 minutes ago, and now I've looked up and it's just dark blue.
Yeah.
It's gone. Gone.
It's gone away.
You want a drink?
I'm not going to refuse a drink.
What would you like?
Gin and tonic?
G&T, okay.
G&T. Come on, off your pop.
Do you want a G&T?
That's what I need. One of those.
One through. We've probably got one here.
Yeah, please. I'll have a refill.
Oh, there we go. It's the first day being back in the office for a very long time because obviously COVID and all. So yeah, it was quite an adventure.
Excellent. Very nice. Actually, it was a good day for cycling today, wasn't it?
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. So Chris says moths have big balls. Yes, I'd agree with that, actually. Yeah, most definitely.
Indeed.
And they're quite stinky.
Compared to the size of the moth, it's quite an impressive thing. And someone is well trained, indeed.
Oh, hi, Hans. How are you? So, yeah, it's So dropping aromatherapy oil onto a hot charcoal disc.
Yeah. Oh dear, no.
How many things did you burn? Was it in double figures, presumably?
That would have been an ouch.
Oh, I bet that spat everywhere.
I can see why.
Can you imagine?
I can understand why somebody might actually think that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had
No.
years and years ago, it must be 25 plus years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, somebody had asked me to do some bits and pieces for her. It was actually several things that she wanted me to do for her. And it was very cool. And it's like, well, while you're at it, and it's like, okay. And it was, I think it was because it was so many things, which then necessitated various, not just thought processes, but it's like, okay, well, I need to do this for this and this for that. And it was all just, what obviously now, no, she would be like, okay, we'll do all that, but one at a time. We're not all going to just like throw it in a fix-all spell, basically.
God, no. Geez. Oh, the mess.
And we had this whopping great cauldron in the middle of her living room. And we started off with, some candles in there and added umpteen bits and pieces. And, of course, candles are fairly flammable, aren't they?
Very, funnily enough.
And so were quite a few of the things that we lobbed in with it. Oh my God. And it was just, and it was, this, and of course the hotter it got, the quicker everything melted. So the hotter it got, it was literally, and I'm like, oh, this is going really awfully badly wrong. And and we didn't have to call the fire brigade in the end, but it was a bit touch and go. It was like, right, that's it, wet towels. We're going to do this. Oh, it was a bit worrying for a bit. And it's like, right, okay, well, we'll put that down to experience, and I'll come back next week.
Do it again.
And we'll do something slightly different. So, but, life's a learning curve, isn't it? You never get it right, whether it's, talking to your kids about something, or whether it's, first time you make celery soup. It's how it goes, isn't it? It's trial and error. It is. It's trial and error. Especially,
my sister's joined me here.
Oh, hello.
No one can wave.
Hello.
You're live on the tube. Please don't swear. This is my sister Karen.
Hi, Karen.
She's staying with me.
How lovely. What fun.
This is Becky, of course. You've met Becky, haven't you? Or have you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well.
No, we've never met. Hello. Heard
Not
about
in real life. I gathered there's a gin and tonic on the way, so what are you getting?
Oh, I've got Paul.
Port and lemon. Yeah, cool. There we go.
good
Everyone's got a
choice.
drink. It's
Good
only
choice.
Wednesday, but got to be done. These are all the people in the chat, you see.
Yeah.
So people are saying hello. Oh, Susan said hello. That's what my friend Susan, who lives 10 Tunbridge Wells way.
Yeah.
So everyone's saying hello. His hands. It's really clever. He's not used to
We're a
YouTube.
friendly
Anyway,
lot,
how this
aren't we?
works.
You're all lovely. A friendly
Indeed.
lot. Hello. Yeah. I've got a moth here. Would you like to say hello to my moth? That's my company for the evening. I've got a moth who's after me frog. Actually, I sent him packing. He's got a very small suitcase, and he's got his tail between his legs, and he's off. So yeah.
You can leave via the cat flap.
Exactly, out. Yeah. Actually, talking of the cat flap, we've got a peacock that is in the garden of the big house.
Yes.
Next one down. And I just have this, I was saying today, I just have this constant dread of suddenly having this peacock dragged through the cat flap. And it's like every now and again, can you imagine how awkward that would be? It's just like, keep Winston, no. He's called Winston.
Oh, no.
Winston the peacock. What a great name for a peacock.
Obvious choice.
Can you imagine trying to explain though? I seem to have your peacock, and he's a bit bedraggled, and he's got a couple of feathers missing. Why has he got some feathers missing? Well, they got stuck in the cat flap. Well,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's ever a commotion at the cat flap, a big commotion at the cat flap, then I'm kind of like.
You can't control cats. They do what they will.
Oh dear, yeah. Yeah. At various
Thank you.
at various
This is a very good evening.
it's lovely. I've had various creatures in, of course, over. But I've got a rather cunning mouse in at the moment.
A cunning mouse. Okay.
A cunning mouse. A cunning mouse with a cunning plan. And his cunning plan, which is working terribly well, is, I've got the green humane mouse traps. He's worked out how to get the cat biscuits out of the far end of the green tube without the little flap closing behind him.
Cunning little beggar.
He is. And I can hear munch, munch, crunch, 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 crunch. And I'm like, oh, it's going to go, it's going to go. And then I'm like, no click, no click. And so I've discovered that I'm refilling this green tube with cat biscuits almost as often as I'm filling the dish with cat biscuits.
So you're feeding a mouse and a greedy cat. The mouse must be so big, it'd be lucky if it can get through the cat flap.
Well, he's moved in. I think he's put his sandwiches in the fridge, to be fair. But anyway, he came with one of those little Dick Whittington sticks and a handkerchief,
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I can't believe I'm literally refilling the mouse trap. Instead of evicting the mouse, like I'm quite used to doing, instead of evicting the mouse, I'm just refilling it with food.
He thinks he's a cat. Yes, he does, Hans. Yeah, totally.
So, yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. But I suppose they know what side their bread's buttered if they turn up here, don't they? So
I think they know they're going to get a good welcome.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Cook it a good square meal and send him on his way,
We'll come to this restaurant more often with its nice
exactly. Just their serving booths are a bit strange, but apart from that.
Yes, they make you go through all that to get a biscuit. Bit much.
Yeah.
Rude.
Oh dear. So frogs. Oh, hang on. What have I missed here? Frogs.
Frog.
Wait a minute. I've missed things. Frog, frog, frog. Frog, frog, frog.
Ah, froglets. Here we go. Symbology.
Oh yeah, the peacock scream. Do you know what? You can hear him from miles away, but I feel really sorry for him actually, because apparently there used to be 3 peacocks, and it was Winston and 2 of his lady friends. 2. See. Yeah. Unfortunately, Mr. Fox came along and helped himself to the 2 ladies. No. Which means that just Winston's on his own, and I feel really sorry for him. And he does the scream and the cry, and I'm like, oh, he's so lonely. I really wish that they'd, acquire a friend for him, because I actually feel really sorry for him. Yeah, it's like, oh, please find him a friend. He's just lonely, That's yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I've worked out what the frog thing is as well. Susan, a little further back, said she's building a new workshop in the garden, and it's quite a size, I can tell you. And she keeps finding loads of baby froglets around surrounding it. What's the symbology for them? So that's why they're saying it,
right. Sorry.
They appear to be toads rather than frogs, apparently. Toads? Well, you're very lucky, because toads aren't that common anymore.
No, they're not anymore, are they? Yeah. Yeah.
But do they have the same symbology, toads and frogs? The change and the kind of transformation and the
similar. No, it's slightly different. Now I had, because I had the disapproving frog, if you remember.
Oh, you did indeed. Long story.
Yeah, and the pink one, of course, the pink frog. It's a plethora of very old animals, isn't it? But yeah, so I looked up frogs and toads. There is some similarity, and as Hans says, they're different. So there are some similarities because you've got the whole change thing, and of course you've got the whole frog spawn, toad spawn.
Well, the metamorphosis stuff.
Is it called toad spawn?
Probably. Eggs.
Eggs. Thank you. Yeah. So you've got that, and then the tadpole and metamorphosis right into the froglet, toadlet thing. But no, they do have different symbology. I can't remember. I can't remember what the difference is, but you would need to look that up. There's actually quite a few good sites, and there's an awful lot of dross on the
rubbish
internet.
Ones.
But if you my kind of policy with things like that, if I'm looking something up on the internet, rather than just reading one thing, read a good half a dozen and see, if there's something that rings true. Generally it'll be 2 or 3 at least, especially in something like that. There'll be 2 or 3 at least that kind of agree with each other, and then every now and again you'll get one that's got a proper, way out
Well,
outside
the main
box.
thing with toads is their sort of connection with witches, isn't it? Because they were familiars and things. So there is an element of connection with witchery.
I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a quick trip round Google is probably what's required there. Yeah, I do get the old frog here, especially the pink one threw me.
Well, a pink frog's going to throw anybody. That's most
And
unexpected.
it was square. It was square and pink.
And it was a frog, not just a fruit pastel. No, it's a starburst, isn't it? Not just a strawberry starburst.
So weird. You know, I didn't have my glasses on and the light wasn't very good, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning.
Now, we all know what happens when you haven't got your glasses on. You see some very odd things.
I do. But it was like, what is that? Poke, and his hand just went. It was like, oh, where's my glasses?
Yeah.
I put them on and I wasn't actually that much the wiser, really, because there it was, pink frog, and upside down. Picked him up, and he was pink on the top too, not just on the bottom. And it was like, oh, and he's like, oh, well, that's a bit weird. I'm like, you're telling me it's a bit weird. Anyway,
I'm wondering the reason why they were playing around the workshop is presumably you had to dig on a purely practical level. Is that you have to dig quite deep holes. Now, there's been an awful lot of rain, so I'm guessing there was probably some water around the
must be water courses and stuff.
The piles that went in, and that's.
Yeah.
Toadlets are going to be very much attracted to it, but the fact that you've had so many is quite remarkable.
Yeah. But they poke themselves away. I actually get quite a lot of frogs that turn up voluntarily rather than ones that have been coerced into coming by the cat. But they do turn up, and they manage to poke themselves away in the most obscure places. They really do, and you think you've looked everywhere, or and they're everywhere. And it's like yesterday, there now. So yeah, but they do if it's damp, and with the weather, because obviously the ground is then damper. It's almost like it seems like they think that their territory's been expanded on, is what it seems to me.
Some big puddles around. She's been rescuing them all. They're happy. They're okay with puddles. They're all right.
Yeah,
they won't drown.
Yeah, magic frog hand.
Yeah.
That was weird. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, see, and the fae. Yeah, the fairies ride them.
That's the link. Yeah, there's pictures.
That's the link. The fairies ride them.
And it's that
to ride a toad.
That sort of slightly toad licking thing, if you know what I mean. The fact that they can alter states.
Yeah. Yeah. They are strange. Years ago, I was in Australia when I first went to Australia, and of course they've got the cane toads there, which you are legally bound in some states to run over if they're in the road, which is absolutely gross.
Oh no, real.
Yeah, because they're such a problem, and of course they're highly toxic and poisonous. Not just toxic, but they're highly poisonous. And you are legally, but if they're in the road, you are supposed to run them over. Well, no. But turned up at this restaurant, and they had 3. It was I think it was a Chinese restaurant. It had like beautiful gardens and lanterns outside, and these kind of like these graduated steps going outside. And on the first one, it's like it's cane toad. That's quite a size. Went up the next step, and we're like, oh. There's another one. He's even bigger. And went up the 3rd step, and this thing was kind of like a football. It was like, oh my God. And you kind of had to skirt around him, thinking, whoo. I'm not going to go and get my car. So yeah.
I think
so. Yeah, and it was like mum, dad, and baby. It was but they were huge, and they are really massive, and there's such a problem in. But see, that's man interfering again.
Yes,
exactly the same thing. It's like, we've got a rabbit problem. Cane toads eat rabbits. Let's get some cane toads in. Yeah, and they poison and kill everything else too.
Mess up with the ecology of an area. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and so of course now they've got this massive problem because they've killed everything nearby. So yeah, I just wish people would leave things alone. I really do. I know it's kind of done with potentially the best of intentions, but oh god,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
just
Lots of
interfering.
butterflies.
Yeah, interfering. Oh, butterflies! I've had loads of butterflies here. Actually, I've got the buddleia,
It's been
and
a good year for them, hasn't it? I think, or
has
certainly
actually,
some of them.
yeah, and it's been lovely. Actually, been watching a lot today. Really nice, beautiful colours. Absolutely lovely. Yeah, wonderful. Actually, it's just been, I don't know, it's just the whole couple of days recently, the last couple of days have just been really, sort of nature oriented, and oh, it's just been lovely actually. It's all nature and wildlife and magic, all, my three favourite things really. Yeah, it's just lovely. Yeah. Yeah, nothing to moan about or complain about, I must say. What we got here? Yeah. What we got here? What did I spot there? Oh, that's interesting, Chris. So Chris says, I think frogs have the ability to change colour to fit their background, a little like chameleons. Do you?
What the pink one was thinking, heaven only knows. Maybe he had a malfunction.
I don't know, but it was definitely pink. And I haven't got a pink floor, I might add. No, I haven't got a pink floor or a pink rug. Maybe he'd gone on Hattie's tongue. Hattie's tongue's quite pink. Yeah, but maybe they do. I'm not entirely sure. I suppose it would depend on the variety of frog. Yeah. Do they have the ability? Do they actually, though, have the ability to change colour? I wasn't aware of that. Were you?
I think they do. I think they have got a little ability. I mean, obviously, there are many, many different species of frogs, but your average one doesn't, I don't think, can do a great deal. But that doesn't mean that none of them can. I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Maybe they're just not as spectacular as chameleons, because they really are, aren't they? They're in a league of their own, then, really, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, they're quite remarkable.
Wow. Well, on the subject of pink frogs and toads and changing colours chameleons, I think we're probably talked out there. We will we be here next week? Because we're off on our hollybobs, aren't we?
It will be, unless you can do it remotely. Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we'll be able to do it next week. Yeah, because
I think we would struggle, wouldn't we?
Be trundling about in blessed be.
We'll be in the blessed be. Yes,
we will. Yeah. So we won't be around next week. I don't think it's practical. To be fair, I think it might be rather tricky. And if we did find,
I think our connection would be rubbish anyway.
Yeah, maybe on the pub, in a pub, or we might have to. We might even have to go in a pub or something. I mean, God.
Oh, the sacrifice!
I know. Can you imagine having to go in a pub? Can you imagine to go in a pub?
Order a drink? How shocking!
Yeah, I mean, just dreadful, wouldn't it? Can you imagine? Yeah.
Disgusting.
So yes, I think we might give next week a miss. We'll be trundling around in Essex, because Essex and witchcraft have an enormous history, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a historical trip around Essex, won't we? So it will be wonderful. So we'll come back with tales of tales. So we'll come back and do that the following week. So we'll do that, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time. So thank you ever so much, everybody, and thank you so much for chipping in with your thoughts as well. Thank you, and we'll see you in a fortnight. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. See you. Awkward wave.
Magical hand.